welcome everyone to the Age Backwards Summit 2025. Today we have a very special guest, April Wyett. April, thank you for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I so appreciate being here with you, David.
Well, thanks, April. Why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and tell them a little bit about what you do and how you got into health and wellness?
Hmm. Wow, there's a lot to share here. So I'll do my best just to bring it down into a nutshell. I really enjoy working with others and groups and communities to help people bring themselves back to their own precious resource, which is their bodies. So many of us are out there running around and so much up into our heads, we forget about our bodies and how our bodies are able to give us that vitality that we're looking for. When we invite a quick pause just to check in with ourselves, recognize where we're at, then that helps to break that loop of, those thoughts that we have. A lot of thoughts going on in there. I like to call it the snow globe effect, right? So you shake up a snow globe and there's lots of snowflakes flying around in there. But when you invite that pause, you stop the shaking, then the snowflakes tend to settle. And there'll still be a few snowflakes flying around. It's always going to happen with the thoughts, although we'll be in a much more present state and be able to see things more clearly in our minds. So that's what I do, is bring people back to themselves. And that's very empowering, because what we're doing also is building emotional intelligence. So that way we can self-regulate in different environments, in work, at home, just being out in the world. There's a lot of distractions. So self-regulation really brings us back to balancing the nervous system. Then we feel that more cohesiveness within our bodies. We'll be more relaxed when we're around other people, and also focusing on the goals that we want in our lives as well.
Thank you. That's interesting. You mentioned when we were talking off air about going from burnout to renewal. Can you share your story with the audience?
Mm, yeah, I was in that place. I was in that place to where we had just moved. My husband's retired Navy, but then he was still in the Navy. We just moved back to the States from Japan. I was enrolling in college, getting my son in middle school. All the things were going on, taking care of my father-in-law who had Lewy body disease, and my husband transitioning into civilian life. A lot of things happening. And I was driving across from Iowa to Illinois to see a friend. And all these thoughts were in my mind, especially about statistics. I was taking a statistics class at the time, wondering if I'm going to pass that test, right? So as all this chaos was happening in my mind, right, and my body feeling this and leading into that burnout of how am I going to do this? I'm mentally and physically exhausted. I don't know how things are going to work out, all those questions and uncertainties that were happening about the future. Then all of a sudden, it wasn't my voice, but it was like a knife that cut through all the chaos. And I heard a voice and it said, trust and know, and it shall be so. And I was driving like 80 miles an hour on the interstate, and I dumped out my purse. It was like, I got to write this down, because this is something that I need to share with other people. And what I've discovered by sitting with that phrase, trust and know, and it shall be so, trust in the process, right? Trust in ourself, trust in your higher power, trust, right? Allow and know, because we're trusting that things will work out the way it needs to. We don't have to fight it or resist so much, just allowing ourselves to settle, let those snowflakes, just kind of clear away, and then we'll receive the answers. We'll get more insight. But when we are so much in the sympathetic nervous system, the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and go, 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 and I have to do all these things, that really keeps us in this little narrow space to where we are only seeing through the keyhole of the door. We can't even see the door. So trusting in ourselves, learning to lean in and listen, and just let the things go that we can't control. And that really helps with the burnout. It really helps with people building that resiliency through the self-regulation, because we need our bodies. Our bodies will help us heal, just as with the jaded health, David, that I mean, I got my copy right here, and I have the pages dog-eared and can't see because of my background's blurred. But just having a resource like that, having somebody that you can connect with and really build that trust within ourselves, and we understand more about ourselves.
Yeah,
It's all we have is really ourselves, isn't it?
it is. And I love your little quote. I wrote it down on my stand for my computer. And this is a quote from April Wyett. Place your attention on your intention.
Uh-huh. And that's exactly what we're doing, right? Is because if you don't have your attention on your intention, then we just have great intentions,
Yeah.
but they're not getting us anywhere.
It's interesting that about your story where you're driving and this thought came through you, because last week I was feeling a little bit overwhelmed. And I just sat back and it came to me, it said, smile, David. The universe is smiling down upon you favorably.
Oh, that is
And
amazing.
I wrote it down and now I look at it whenever I'm feeling a little bit on edge or overwhelmed. It's like, no, I'm grateful for the
Mm,
blessings I have. And sometimes I think if people just stop and take a little time to be grateful and just stop, take a moment, it helps.
mhm. It really breaks the loop of that cycle of trying to figure things out. And our minds are amazing, right? Our brain is hardwired to protect us. And
Yeah.
so that's what keeps us on that look for threats, because the uncertainty that we're feeling. And when we can, just as you said, pause. That was so perfect, right? Smile, right? The universe is
Yeah.
smiling, and God or whomever your higher power is, everyone listening or watching, it's all love.
Yeah.
That's all that is seen is the love that we have within us. So it's our minds that create more stories that really aren't true.
Yeah. And you like to talk about filling your cup and reconnecting
Mm.
with natural vitality. Can you talk to the audience and elaborate on that?
Mhm. Yes, we don't realize that we have a cup within ourselves, with our minds or bodies, whichever one you want to see the cup in, and taking that time to pause and ask in the morning. That's my tip. Ask in the morning, what do I want to fill my cup with? I guarantee everyone listening here doesn't say, I want more anger. I want more frustration. I want more of the grieving or whatever it is. That's very far from what we're wanting, isn't it? So when we ask ourselves, we put us in the driver's seat instead of the thoughts, and asking, what do I want to fill my cup with? I want more joy. I want to feel light. Or maybe even, I just want some peace today.
Yeah,
And when we
more
put
energy.
yeah, more energy, that vitality is I'm getting towards. So it starts with the question, right? Asking. And that's really putting, again, your attention on your intention.
Yeah.
And then throughout the day, when we do feel overwhelmed or even just kind of a wonky energy, like, oh, I just don't feel grounded, that is our internal compass. That's letting us know, hey, you're over here when you really want to be over there. So what can we do to shift the script with that? So filling our cups by bringing us back to ourselves. And that could look like just a simple, easy breath practice of asking, where is my breath right now? And just pausing and, oh, I'm feeling it in the upper chest. Can I feel the coolness, the sensation of the air flowing in through my nose? Can I feel my chest rising and falling? Can I feel my heart beating if I place my hand here? Oh, here I am, right? And then that just eases the pressure that we put on ourselves. And then that our cups fill up a little bit more, and being around people that raise your energy and vitality, right? Filling our cups. We're remembering, we're actually connecting with their energy. And this isn't any woo-woo stuff. It's science has shown this, right? We have neurosensory around our body. And we can tell when you walk into a room of, ooh, I'm going to stay away from that person. And they haven't even said a word.
Yeah.
Or, hey, that person's very intriguing to me. I want to know more about them. Then we gravitate towards them, or we really cue in and listen to what they're saying. That's another way to fill our cups with vitality. And then, of course, what are we consuming? So the food, as you perfectly map out in your jaded health, uh, music, social media.
Yeah.
What are we consuming uh, energetically too? Are we getting outside? Are we walking in nature? Because we forget that we're animals too. We need that connection with the earth, with trees, with just breathing in the air. It doesn't matter if it's cloudy or sunny, the sun is still shining somewhere, right? Just breathing that in and being appreciative, back to what you said, the gratitude that we are here, that we are living on this amazing earth, because we are earth beings. And I always say, I am all and all is me.
Yeah.
We need each other. So that's another way to fill our cups too, with vitality. And then also just whatever practice, right? Whether it's connecting with community, like a group community such as church, or maybe a book club, or just scrapbooking, or getting online or calling a friend, right? That connection with community and with each other, that's so important.
Uh, uh, like you said, getting outside, sometimes just going for a 5 or 10 minute walk and
Mhm.
grounding with nature, just being outside
Exactly.
will help quite a bit.
Exactly. And if you can, take your shoes off, get your feet in the grass, feel that, or if you're near a beach, whether it's a lake or the ocean, get your feet in the sand, go feel the water on your feet.
Yeah.
That's very healing and grounding as well.
It's interesting because when you're talking about fill your cup, I'm thinking my cup is half full as opposed to half empty. So it's more of a positive.
Yes. And,
And
and that's
I believe that, since research shows 80% of our thoughts are negative, it's always wise to turn the negatives into positives because that's how it
Mhm.
affects us.
Yeah, that's what I meant about shift the script. So we all have stories that we like to tell ourselves about others, about a situation, even about ourselves. And when we recognize those old ruminating thoughts that come in, really being curious, is this really true? Is this happening right now? Do I really know that about that person?
Yeah.
Because we don't know that person. We don't know what they're thinking. It's just those preconceived thoughts that
Or
get
what
us in
they've been,
trouble.
yeah, or what they've been through
Exactly.
because we haven't walked in
And
their shoes. Yeah.
yeah, no judgment, right?
Yeah.
Just accepting people for who they are. You can agree to disagree, and that's okay too, right? We
That's
don't
what
have,
telling my wife I came full circle and she says, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, when I was in my 20s and 30s, I was fit and trim and exercising and eating healthy and avoiding sugar. And I was very judgmental of people who weren't. And I thought, why are they, overweight? Why are they eating this or that? And then life gets in the way. And then I stopped exercising, started eating fast foods, convenient foods, and gained the weight, lost the weight. And so I learned to not judge people because now I understand their embarrassment, their frustration, their humiliation, so I can relate better. And now I can coach them and teach them. Had I not gone through that experience, I would still be judging. And I find that to be very disconcerting that I was once that way. So I like that you're non-judgmental and that we
mm,
take people for face value and what they're going through. Just out of curiosity, what do you do to age backwards?
mm. I have a lot of different things that I'm very mindful of, hence my business name, Living with Intention. So every morning I do have a meditation routine. I set that time aside for myself because it's so important for me to just check in, see what's happening emotionally, uh, and witness the thoughts or emotions that are coming up and just allow them to be there. I say, just lean in to that internal landscape because we all have that internal landscape within ourselves. And when we learn to navigate it, the emotions, the thoughts that are coming up, then we're able to really navigate through life a lot easier. And so that's my go-to is meditation and also drinking water. I am a huge water drinker. I've always been. I'm very grateful that my family was kind of poor, so they couldn't afford soda. So we had, just water. Um, and I passed that on to my son because I would see my friends. I had him later on in my 30s, but I'd see my friends give their kids soda like at 2 years old, and I'm like, oh, you know, that's just definitely not healthy. That is a little judgy, but it's true, right? We don't want to set the body system up with sugar overload at such a young age. So
Yeah.
water's a big thing for me. My son still to this day, water. We sit down in a restaurant, water. Nobody ever orders a soda. We just get water. And what's another thing? Definitely nature. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest. I was running amok in the woods, little kind of wild child, and I learned a lot. That's where I consider my first home was the woods in Washington State. And that's what my love is for nature in any landscape. Even in Arizona, you can find beauty wherever you go because that's what our beautiful nation and world, right? We want diversity.
Yeah.
We don't want everything to look like, California or Washington State. We want to appreciate all the beauty, and that's like everyone else that we encounter. Encounter different people, different cultures, and appreciate them and their own beauty and essence. It's so important for that too. So I know I kind of went off a little bit off track there, but I think it's really important though.
Oh no,
For
I think it's very important for
yeah,
people to drink more water. That's golden rule number one.
Yes, it is. It is.
And I tell that to people because our bodies are 60 to 70% water. It's not the soda or diet soda or fruit juices or fruit flavored beverages or milk.
Mhm.
So
Yes.
yeah, and that's what I do. I'm blessed to live 2 miles from the White Tank Mountains, so I can go hiking, even though it's, brown and dusty, it's still beautiful to be among the rocks. Sometimes I get
Mhm.
to see a rattlesnake.
That's awesome. I know people are going to cringe. I love snakes, uh, gardener snakes, right? But rattlesnakes at a distance. But I appreciate, right? We appreciate nature in all shapes and forms.
Yeah,
And I think it really comes back, David. I think you would agree to this that, we are the ripple effect. So as we fill our cups, as we bring in that vitality in our lives, then we ripple out to others and they can sense it. They can feel it too. Don't you
is
think?
that is that one of your favorite stories in the Jaded Health book? Is the ripple effect?
Yes.
We should share it with our audience so they understand what we're talking about. I'll
Yeah,
just
I'll let you share it. I can't remember it word for word.
I'll
I'm
just
like digging through
paraphrase
my
it.
book right now.
Basically, an employee goes to his supervisor and says he's upset because his fellow employees are not treating him well. He's being excluded and has various other complaints. And so the supervisor says, "Come with me." And they go out to a pond. And she goes, "Throw the rock out there." He does, and there's ripples. And she goes, "See the ripples?" And he goes, "Yeah." She goes, "Okay, put your hand in the water and stop the ripples." And he puts his hand in the water. He's unable to stop the ripples. And he looks at her and goes, "I'm unable to stop these ripples." And she goes, "Exactly." She goes, "When you act a certain way or speak a certain way or do a certain thing, that's a ripple effect. And that's what goes out to your work environment, your employees, your fellow employees. So, like, you're unable to stop the ripples in the water. I'm unable to stop the ripples that you're creating in your workspace. The good news, however, is you can change those ripples." So that's the gist of the story.
Yes, I agree 100%. You can change the ripples and create new ones. And those ripples are just reverberations or the story. And as our actions show or speaking different, right? Shifting the
Yeah.
script, speaking to our coworkers differently, speaking to our kids, home life, speaking to ourselves first and foremost. We really need to become our own best friends, don't we?
Yeah, because if you can't love yourself, who will? What would you say when you're working with clients is their most brought up issue? What's the common issue for most of them?
Currently, it seems a lot of overwhelm. They're overwhelmed with their work environment and home life, maybe in some uncertainty as well. And that has a lot to do with, again, the mind trying to do everything at once, right? We need to break it down into little chunks to what is doable right now. And I
Okay.
think also what's really important is for people to remember we can't control others. So really check what we're focusing on. And we can only control ourselves. And when we come from that space, it is a healthy selfishness, right? We do need that. We need boundaries. And so allowing other people to do their jobs, not trying to micromanage them, thinking they're going to do it wrong. Well, people need to learn too, right? They have to learn those things. You can guide or point out, but there's a fine line between controlling, micromanaging, and just giving, good feedback, good pointers, right? So allowing to let go of the control, I think that helps with the overwhelm. And
Yeah.
the uncertainty is more of shifting that into, I wonder. So I say turning worry into wonder. So I wonder how that will work out for me. I wonder what would happen if I did this instead. So turning worry into wonder, it really allows the pressure off of our own shoulders. You can even feel it, right? If you shift it from, I don't know what I'm going to do, this is too much, all of that worry and anxiety, our bodies feel it. At least it starts to, really contract. But
And
when
that's what ages us.
Yes, it is. It is because, and then we're not going to want to work out. We're not going to want to go out and walk because we're so in our minds about all the things, all those snowflakes that we can't see past them. We're in a blizzard. And so just by taking that breath, just invite a curiosity and turning that worry into wonder, then we can start to feel that lift off and then be more open to doing something, going somewhere, meeting friends, going for that walk, reminding ourselves to drink that water and do those things that will fill our cup so we do have more vitality in our lives.
Yeah.
We feel it. And it starts from the inside out.
Yeah. I learned something valuable from Blair Singer. I always like to give credit where credit is due. And he was talking about learning from mistakes, that there are no mistakes. And the example he gave was the film industry, where they use the clapperboard to do the scenes.
Ah,
They say, take number such and such. And if they have a mistake, they have to redo it until they get it right.
mhm.
And so when I think of mistake, I'm always thinking of a mistake and that you're going to do it
Ah,
to get it
I
right.
like
You're learning
that.
from that. So
A mistake. Ah, yeah, we get do-overs.
exactly every day.
And when we have that curiosity, then there's really no judgment. It's more of, oh, let's treat this as a science experiment. Let's see, the outcomes when I do X, Y, and Z versus, as Einstein says, the doing the same thing and expecting different results, right? That's the definition
Definition.
of insanity.
Yeah.
And so we need to change, we need to shift, and it starts with that script.
When clients come to you, what is their biggest reason for seeking you out? Let's see if I can articulate this better. What is their why? Why
Mm.
are they seeking you out, basically?
Yes, they've tried self-help books. They've had and I'm not saying coaches are bad or anything, although there's different fits, right? For different people at different times, needing different people to support them in different ways. And so when they come to me, it's more of, I'm really feeling this heaviness, this, anxiety, this overwhelm in my body, or maybe I'm they're recognizing they're really disassociating from their bodies, and so by bringing them back with breath work, with the biodynamic breath work and trauma release system that I'm certified in, then I'm able to allow them to tune into their bodies in a very supportive way. And this breath work is a connected breath work. So it's not a fast pace and you're way up here breathing and all the things. It's more of a connected to the body, to where we can feel what's happening in the body, because science has shown that the trauma, emotions and things has been locked in the fascia. So the fascia is that connective tissue between the muscles and the ligaments and tendons. And we, again, as you said, David, it's locked in our bodies. This is what ages us. And so when we invite the breath and gentle movement, and I guide people to press into acupressure areas of the body and breathe into that space, allowing emotions to come up. We've been conditioned so heavily to hold it all in. There's no time to break down and cry or to have this emotional expression, which we're humans, we're meant to be emotional. When we hide that away or lock it away and resist it, whatever you resist persists. And so your body's going to express it in different ways. This is the lower back pain. This is the knee. This is the shoulder. This is the tightness feeling in your chest, and your body will keep talking to you. It's really good about that, isn't it?
It is, it
Until,
is.
until you recognize, oh, it's like a pressure cooker, an instant pot, right? I need a quick release valve here. I need to ease that pressure and allow myself to breathe. That's
Yeah,
what gets us back into the parasympathetic nervous system, that rest and digest is our breath.
yeah.
So I highly recommend for people to read Feel to Heal by Gitan Tomkov. He's the founder of biodynamic breathwork,
Okay.
trauma release system. He walks through the science, he walks through the psychology, he walks through the different belts that they go through, which is aligned with the chakras, but you don't have to know anything about chakras or anything like that. Just putting that in there in case somebody's open and knows about that. But our bodies will hold things from traumas, and it stems from way back from childhood. I had a horrific car accident at the age of 9, and I have a scar on my leg from it. And I did not even think about it when I started this biodynamic breath work. And I was in a training, and it was our my third in-person training, so getting really deep into the practice. And my body, through this breathing and through a very guided, not guided, but a amazing support person to support me, such as I support people virtually and in person, to go, deep breathing into that space. And she touched something in my back and worked up through my ribs, my like heart, back behind my heart space. And my body went into this weird position, and immediately, just in an instant, I saw my 9-year-old self flying out the back window of the car. I had no idea how I got out of the car when that accident, when my mother, she rolled the car and I flew out the back window. I just remember waking up and I was under the car.
Wow.
So our bodies remember. It's shown in science. And
Yeah.
so when we can have that safe space to release that, then that's where the healing and just really bringing back our own vitality comes into place. And some people, they don't go as deep as that, and that's fine too. So that's why I offer a complimentary session for people to see, if it's a good fit for them. And also, some of my clients, they just want some peace and relaxation. And so it's about Reiki then. I offer virtual and in-person Reiki sessions. And this is where it's a Japanese technique, and it helps support mental, emotional, and physical challenges that you might be experiencing. And it works energetically. So some people might be curious, like, how does that work virtually? Well, just as you're hearing my voice right now, that's energy. And so that's how Reiki works, is energetically. We have that connection. You give me permission, and then you'll receive what is needed at that given time. And so many people walk away feeling so much release and really appreciate that gentle, just space
Yeah.
in that. And I offer that once a month. It's a free restorative meditation with Reiki, and people can find that on my website if they're curious
And
about
what
what
is your
that might look
website?
like. Oh, great question. My website is livingwithintention.co. Yeah.
Okay,
And
give it again.
you can
Living
find
with
me on
intention at
link.
CO. Okay.
Yeah, the .com, it's CO. And people can also find me on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram as well. And I do have a YouTube channel and podcast, so you can find all that on my website too.
Yeah. I find that fascinating with the trauma that the body holds when we're younger. Another guest mentioned that. And so I went back and I started making a list of the trauma as a kid and growing up that I went through that I may not have addressed yet to see if I can release whatever may be in my body as a toxic that we're not aware of.
Yes,
And
100%.
thinking about some of this stuff, it's like, wow, like you said, forgot about it completely. For example, you mentioned 9 years old going horrific car accident. Um, when I was 3 or 4, and my parents were remodeling our basement in our townhouse, I had a chisel and put it through my thumb, and I still have the scar on my thumb.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing. Um, I was in a car accident when I was older where I rolled it, and the paramedics are still attempting to figure out how I got out of the car. And I actually had to
Mm,
go through the driver's side because the passenger side was crushed,
wow.
and walked away with one little scratch, which they were amazed with. And then that night, I felt my back was a little bit out. So I just pushed and something popped. And I said, oh, that feels good. And my wife looked at me and she goes, I hate you. You just fixed yourself. And I said, yeah, I guess so. But, it's little things that we're not aware of.
It is so true.
Certain trauma, it could be something someone said to us that
Yes.
we haven't forgiven ourselves or them. So little things. So I would encourage people to reach out to you to address those issues because there may be things they're not aware of that you can help them
Hmm.
bring out.
And what I love to do is, again, with my curiosity, right? My clients, they're in the driver's seat, and I'm just asking questions. And so that way, psychologically, they are unpacking it for themselves, because as you know, David, we don't have the answers,
Nope.
although we're guides. I like to think of myself, the Wizard of Oz and the old one, and Dorothy skipping down the yellow brick road, and she comes to the fork in the road, and there's this scarecrow, and he says, you can go that way or you can go that way. That's who I am. I don't have the answers, although I can point you in the right direction for that.
Exactly. That sounds awesome. Well, I see we're out of time. Thank you so much, April, for being a guest today. One more time, where can people reach out to you?
They can reach out to me at livingwithintention.co. And also, I want to just remind everybody that I'm offering a gratitude gift of a MP3 download to help you fill your cup anytime. And because really, we are the ripple effect. And just remember, to keep living with intention and doing your best, and have that ease and grace for yourself as you're discovering more about you along the way. And I just want to show my little, I don't know if I can do this. Yay!
Yes.
I'm in your workbook, so I'm excited about that too. So thank you, David. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for the support that you give for others. You are absolutely amazing, and you are, the light shining the way for others. I so appreciate you and everything that you do.
Thank you, April.